Let's talk about the first sign of a weak mindset: fear of failure. It's natural to want to succeed, but when the fear of failing becomes overwhelming, it drains our spirit. Instead of focusing on the potential joy of success or the journey of learning, our minds become obsessed with potential pitfalls. It's like wanting to swim, but being too scared of the water. So you never even dip your toes in. Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me once again. This is Shahid Durrani, the host of Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Have you ever wondered if your mind could be your biggest obstacle? Let's get into the details on how that could be. As I mentioned in a previous episode, that I was really camera shy before. I would be the first to volunteer to take pictures when my friends and I went out. We didn't have cell phones with cameras. It was usually one person with a camera in the group, right? When I decided to pivot and launch this podcast near the beginning of the COVID pandemic, I would hear that nagging voice within. Can you really do this? What will people think of you? It was my own self-doubt that was holding me back. When I started working on my mindset, I thought to myself, how many of us are letting our own minds become roadblocks to our goals? That is why I'm super passionate about this topic. I absolutely love seeing dramatic changes in people by shifting their mindset. So whether you are starting a business or just trying something new or growing your business, we're going to explore how our mindset can sometimes be our biggest hurdle and what to do about it. So ever find yourself at the door of a big decision or opportunity and something holds you back? That is your mindset at play. Mindset is the collection of beliefs and attitudes we have about ourselves and the world. Let's look at the two main mindset types: fixed and growth. Fixed mindset is when we hear the inner voice saying, I am just not good at this, or some people are naturally talented and I'm not one of them. It's when we believe that our abilities and potential have limits. As for growth mindset, it's for those who believe that with effort and time, they can develop and grow. It's the mindset of enthusiasm for the future, the learners, the resourceful. So whether it's in business, relationships, or personal growth, our mindset can either give us wings or place us in a dark cave. Recognizing the signs and understanding that could be what could be holding us back from achieving our desires. Let's talk about the first sign of a weak mindset: fear of failure. It's natural to want to succeed, but when the fear of failing becomes overwhelming, it drains our spirit. Instead of focusing on the potential joy of success or the journey of learning, our minds become obsessed with potential pitfalls. It's like wanting to swim, but being too scared of the water. So you never even dip your toes in. Now, think about J.K. Rowling. Before she became the sensation behind Harry Potter series, she faced tons of rejections. She was barely surviving and she kept hearing that her story wasn't worth publishing. With her resilience, She didn't allow failure to define her. Look where her mindset got her. A magical world loved by millions, and her legacy will continue to live on. Next time that fear of failure starts creeping in, it's just a sign that you might be holding yourself back. With a little push and a change in perception, you could turn your setback into a major comeback. Have you ever noticed refreshing your social media feed many times to check if you got likes on your latest post or when you didn't get praised for something that you did? Welcome to sign number 2 of potential weak mindset: over reliance on external validation. Always looking for those little heart emojis, or how the in person compliments can feel like a rush. When we start measuring our worth by these external markers, we fundamentally become playthings for others. One day you're up, the next day you feel down, all based on the thumbs up you received. When we become more understanding about our internal gifts and how to use them proactively rather than leaving them in a reactive state, we become highly confident, regardless of what others think. We step forward and learn from our own mistakes and adjust when necessary. Let's dive into sign number 3: avoidance of discomfort. You must have heard the saying that growth happens outside the comfort zone. Fantastic motivational quote, but there is a lot of truth in those words. Being comfortable is familiar, it feels safe, but staying there is like trying to sail across the ocean while anchored near the shore. You won't get very far. I remember how I would get super nervous about doing Facebook Lives. I would avoid them. The inner critic would add so much fear about it that I just didn't want to do it. But I pushed myself, and now I do them weekly. I learned that growth is in being comfortable with being uncomfortable. The takeaway: every time we shy away from what makes us uncomfortable, we sideline our potential. Embracing the uncomfortable can be the doorway to significant achievements. Ever found yourself in a sticky situation and thought, this is totally so and so's fault? Pointing fingers is almost a reflex for many of us, which leads us to sign number 4: playing the blame game. Blaming others may feel good in the moment, but it's not helping you see things clearly. When we are always looking outwards to pinpoint the person or situation responsible for our setbacks or misfortunes, we miss our opportunity to reflect, to learn, to grow from our experiences. If it's always someone else's fault, then that means you are perfect and no room for improvements. We end up hurting ourselves in the long run. So the next time things go sideways, before pointing the finger, it might be worth taking a look in the mirror. It's the first step to creating a better version of yourself. Okay, let's get real for a second. Ever came across a social media post where someone is celebrating a win and you felt a tiny pinch of envy instead of joy? Don't worry, you're not alone. This brings us to sign number 5: inability to celebrate others. Jealousy is a tricky one. It's less about the person we are envious of and more about our own internal insecurities, mirroring what we think we lack. And when we are measuring our life's worth against someone else's success, it's easy to feel like we are falling short. I used to suffer from the comparison syndrome a lot. It was unconscious. I didn't want to do it, but I would feel jealous. I would feel envious. I'm grateful now that I don't suffer from this anymore. I celebrate everyone. It feels incredible. Let's look at the final sign, resistance to feedback. See, nobody likes being told they are wrong or that there's room for improvements, but constructive feedback is like a GPS for our personal and professional journey. It allows us to course correct when necessary. Without it, we may think that everything is going perfect and miss out on growth and innovation. I had a guest on my show and he gave me some constructive feedback. He said that I should always introduce the guest rather than allowing the guest to introduce themselves. It's a sign of respect. And I appreciated that feedback and actually implemented his feedback immediately. Now I always introduce my guests. So next time you hear some feedback, instead of shutting it out or feeling upset, because our ego can be quite possessive, allow it some space and see how it could potentially help you become better. See, these 6 signs of a weak mindset are part of our subconscious mind, our paradigm to be specific, our internal habits. When we work on shifting our paradigm, all the weaknesses lose their grip and the true you comes to the surface, the limitless you. However, I will share some tips and exercises that will help you get started. Gratitude journaling. Start your day jotting down 3 things you are grateful for, but with deep positive feeling attached to it. Really feel grateful. And the 5-second rule. When you feel anxious about doing something that is uncomfortable, count backwards from 5. I know it's simple, but just count backwards from 5 and then go. Just go for it. Do what makes you uncomfortable. Make yourself excited. You can start small, but do something. As for feedback, when someone gives feedback, instead of reacting instantly, take a deep, slow breath and become aware of it and just thank them. And then genuinely reflect on it, mull it over. Also, visualize success. Spend a few minutes every day visualizing a positive outcome for your challenges. Just imagine how success feels, smells, looks. Immerse yourself in that feeling. You can also borrow the feeling from a past success. Avoid checking your phone first thing in the morning. Social media is when the comparison begins and affects your entire day. How you feel is how you act. Be conscious of how you feel throughout the day. Spend time affirming something positive which resonates with you. Stick it on your mirror. Set phone reminders. Surround yourself with positivity. You are welcome to join my private Facebook group as well. It's called Mindset for Business Success. Environment is crucial for replacing these signs of a weak mindset. To leave you with some inspiration, here's a quote by Winston Churchill. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. See, our mindset is our compass, our guide for a life filled with fulfillment and joy. So, wishing you all the best and see you next time.